So here it is. We got a Banshee Phantom V3, 2020 model, or brought out in the 2019, but it's their latest version. Now, spec-wise, comes with a DPX2 factory, so you got independent low-speed compression, Fox 34 Performance Elite, 120 to 140 mil. This is a 130. Definitely prefer it as a 140, but that's cool. I loved it as it is. Geometry, we got 66 degree head angle, 76.6 degree seat angle, so killer seat angle, perfect position for climbing. You can just stroll all day on it up the hill. There's no pedal bob, there's no feeling of sluggishness on the bike outside of the fact that it's it's not a light bike. So this, as you see it, double down in the back, EXO, carbon cranks, 29 at the front, 27.5 at the rear, rental bars, race face stem, code brakes, 180s front and back. It weighs in at just over 15 kilos. I think it's around the 15.3 mark. So a little bit inaccurate, but it's around there. I guess there's not too much to talk about with the specs. It comes with a 170 crank, which is cool. I do prefer a 165, but this is a large, so 170 is cool for the taller guys. 470mm reach, which I feel like I'm right on the edge at 460. So I'm between a medium and a large generally. These newer larges, they're getting a little bit bigger. I didn't really have any problems with it, to be honest. 27.5 in the back, I think, probably helped. Full 29er, I'd love to ride this as a full 29er. I think it'd be absolutely killer. I have had mixed experiences with full 29er bikes. Some are choppy and really hard to control that back end. It feels like there's way more inertia going up and down when you're hitting, when your back tie's dancing. So it came as a mullet, so that's how I rode it, it's killer. It's so good as a mullet. The EXO drivetrain was good. At the start, it was a little bit out of it, so I put a hanger straightener tool on it, and the derailleur hanger was pretty bent, so straightened that up, and now it's crisp as a biscuit, so happy with that. It actually came with this joystick, so this is a joystick binary seat, which wasn't too bad, not super uncomfortable. It was actually not too bad. It's just too big for me. It's a big seat for a big dude, so a little bit too wide and big and maybe long. The joystick binary bars are 9 degree up sweep, 6 degree back sweep. Didn't like it. Didn't like that sweep at all. And they were quite wide as well. They're 800s. So I always plan on putting my own bars when a bike comes with a really wide bar. Anyway, enough of the jibber jabber. How does it ride? If you saw my initial video or videos of up at Waterfall Gully, so Twisted Gum, and then the other 3 trails of that 4-course mill kind of setup, it's so stable. So coming out of the gate, this is the first time I've ridden since I hurt myself, so it's been a long time. It's been 8 weeks. I've been around on the street, and I've been on the exercise bike, keeping the fitness up and whatever, but I haven't ridden any corners, I haven't ridden any trails. And straight away, after maybe 100 metres of just choppy, rocky fire road, I thought, yeah, this feels good, and started to loosen up on it a little bit. And as soon as I got down the first fast descent, like descending piece of trail, that was it. I was sold. I was expecting it to be a little bit skittish because it's got the short offset front end, short offset fork. So all these companies are going with the short offset fork and trying to follow the trends and whatnot, not necessarily looking at the pros and cons. Now, not completely the case in this scenario. 66 degree head angle is right on that border. If it was 66 and a half, it would definitely have more of a tucking feeling at the front. But I got almost no feeling of tuck. I got it when I was bouncing around on the streets, but once I got on the trails, I was aware of how I have to ride in order to stay away from that tuck, which is when you're laid over and you're trying to hold a corner and you want to turn in a little tighter because the corner you're running out of corner or you overshot it or whatever. You can't turn in tight if you've got a steep head angle and a shortened offset fork. It feels like the tyre's too far under you, and when you do turn, it turns in like that, and you get the bar in your balls, you're over the bars, and it's a nasty little crash. This really didn't have any of that because, like I said, I was vigilant of it and I knew what it was capable of, like that. Comparing it to the Trance, which is 115, 130, the 2019 Giant Trance, 29. That Trance had a 67-degree head angle, if I remember correctly, and the same short offset fork, and that felt so tucky. It was such a shame because I was really, I was amped up for that bike. I thought it was going to be killer, and it just wanted to spit me off the front. I couldn't go through any rough stuff without the front doing any of this. Like, it just didn't feel stable at all. This is the opposite story. Super stable. Outside of that little bit of tuck on the streets that I got, no way. I was just ploughing. You can see it in the video. I was ploughing everything. Confidence. Not quite the control of the front end that I'd like, but it was very close. I mentioned that it's the strongest bike I've ever ridden, and there's no doubt about it. After riding it today as well at Moriata, it's it looks strong, it's built strong, and it feels so strong. It's so stiff, and it's not stiff in a bad way. A lot of the carbon bikes that I've ridden, they're stiff, but they're tinny. They're real. There's no compliance in the frame. You get all the hits straight into you. So if the suspension doesn't take the hit, you get it all. And your suspension's never going to take all your hits. Your frame takes a lot of the hit as well. This is stiff. It had all of the qualities of that. There was no flex anywhere, but it was a thud instead of a ting. So it wasn't tinny. It was still that, what I love about alloy, basically, that thud when you are taking big hits or you are trying to plow a rough section and kind of hover through. So very impressed with that. Cornering, it rips corners. It's absolutely, as soon as you engage the turn, it drops in. It's wicked. Like I said, a little bit, not a lot of confidence in the front. Maybe the Assegai as well. I think the Assegai has a little bit to do with that as well. It just, when you ride on that edge, it just disappears on you. So, not big on the Assegai. It's cool. It is a good tyre. It's a great tyre, but from riding the DHF, especially the DHF Max Grip, this is only a Max Terra, so I'm always tentative when I'm on anything with less grip, and that Max Grip DHF is the king. Right up until I ride this, everyone's talking about this Wild Enduro, the Michelin Wild Enduro. So I'm going to try one of them soon, but for now, Maxi's Max Grip DHF is the king. The DPX2 shock. I've never got along with this shock on my previous bike. I've gotten along with it, but I've found its limitations and its capabilities. So it's a hard charging shock. It's super progressive as a shock itself. So the negative air chamber on these shocks is quite big in relation to the ratio between the negative and the positive. So it's a really good shock for a bike like this. Really good shock for hard charging, but not so good for suppleness and looking for grip where there is none. So small limitation on that. But on this bike, with the 0.4 spacer in it, which is what I rode yesterday on all the helmet cam, all the GoPro vids I've got, it felt fine. It was progressive. I mentioned it when I got to the top of the climb. Bouncing around and on the way up that climb, it felt like it was going to be too progressive on the way down. It's just going to give me heaps of chop. And it was progressive, but the chop really wasn't there. There's a little bit low on grip, but really not to what I was expecting. The compliance was killer. It was calm. I've had to go pretty much full slow on the rebound. It's 1-2 clicks. Anywhere from full slow to 2 clicks out. It feels quite good. Any faster than that, and it starts to really be fast. A couple of clicks of low-speed compression. Any more than that, it's a really nice, stiff compression tune. So I'm not too sure exactly what the tune is. I haven't looked it up, but it feels like quite a stiff compression tune. So I tried it with 5 clicks today, and it was too stiff. It was way too much compression there. So there was no give on the shock, no compliance. So I was happy with that. The 130 Fox 34 was fine. Once I serviced it, I opened them up and that air spring was terrible. So I serviced that. That was cool. The idea with this, so they've reinforced the chainstay and seat stay, and I think that plays a huge part in how stiff this feels and how responsive it is off of the back of things. So it just bounces off of things. And like I said, if it was a 29er, I think it would be even faster. It would just be so zippy and potentially could deal with that extra wheel, the extra size of the wheel being a little bit more choppy. So I don't know what else to say about it really. It slays really, really hard. It's a 115 travel at the back. It acts like it's so much stronger than short travel bikes I've ridden in the past. It's stronger than almost every bike I've ridden. It feels like my Patrol for strength. You know what? It's stiffer than my Patrol. I'm going to say it's stronger and stiffer than my, maybe not stronger than my Patrol, but stiffer for sure. It's just so much fun to ride. The playfulness, perfect. The stability at speed when it gets rough, perfect. I really didn't expect it to be able to hold a line. I didn't expect it to be able to hold a line when I was off the brakes. I thought it was going to be a little bit more darty, and I was going to have to put a little bit more language into keeping the back down and keeping the bike where I wanted it to be. But it was so much more relaxing to ride. It was just point and shoot, and if it gets too hairy, you got codes that just rip you up at a dime. So really impressed with everything on this bike. What didn't I like about it? What didn't I like about it? I didn't like the cable routing. So I like the idea of the cable routing, but you don't want to hear that when you're riding. That's the only thing, literally the only thing I can pick on this bike, I think. All you have to do there is stick a tube of foam in there, light as hell, just stick it in there, no worries. Not one that's going to absorb any water, obviously, but you do that and that noise is gone, so that's silent. Seat angle's killer, climbing it was fine, it didn't feel sluggish ever at all. Like I said, it's a little bit porky, but it's porky for a good reason. It needs to be that weight to be as strong and as baller as it feels. I said in one of my videos that it's a cross-country bike with enduro bike testicles and muscles, and I absolutely stand by that. After today, riding it as well, Moriata, absolutely no worries. If I had more time, I had a bit of bad luck. I got a flat tire on this double down, so I spent a lot of time between rides fixing things and putting a tube in and trying to patch the hole and plug the hole. So I didn't get as much trail time today as I wanted, but I did get a couple of hard slaps down the Moriata run. And you don't ride a 115, 130 bike like that down. Moriata's not rough. You know, it's not a hairy track, but it's got rough spots and it's got some hairy spots, and it just doesn't mind at all. I would like to go 140 again. I'd like to go 140 on the front. I think that'll improve it a little bit more. It'll just give you a little bit more when you get hairy. But man, it was good. And I don't like the short offset. I'm gonna commit to that. I don't think that it's quite slack enough for a short offset. I think 65 down, 65 and a half you can kind of get away with, but 65 degrees down, so 64, 63, whatever, definitely short offset. Most certainly. You want to bring that wheel, because your fork's out there so far, you want to bring that wheel back a touch, so it's more within that range of usable, good, stable feeling. If it's too far out, it's floppy and real hard to turn and dead. It feels dead. Because you're already steep, 66 isn't considered super steep, but it's steep enough. Because you're already steep, you're already bringing that wheel underneath you a little bit more. So when you do lay it over and turn, the wheel's almost behind your center of gravity as soon as you put a little bit of a turn on it. So you want it out. You want that axle out a little bit further, so you're not less sketchy. It'll be way less sketchy, and it's not going to have a sluggish feeling because it's already steep enough to be in that good useful range. So I don't know if that came out as well as I think I'm trying to portray it, but that's kind of my take on short offsets versus traditional offsets, I guess. So tiny qualm with the cable rattle. Otherwise, flawless, wicked. I cannot wait to demo a bigger travel Banshee, because they've made it's called the KS2 suspension link. So they've made all of their bikes across the range, they've updated them with this same suspension link as far as I know. And if the other ones are anything like this, they're going to be so good. The Paradox was crazy good, which was the hardtail that I rode. Wicked angles again. I think it was 150 mil at the front with a 65 head angle and a 76 seat angle, or more than a 76 seat angle. they're just making killer bikes now. The old Banshee was good. I rode the old Banshee Room, but it was way too big for me, so I didn't get a good idea of how it rode. All I got from that bike it was fast and it was business-like. It was a hard-charging, strong bike, which they've improved again. Clearance on here, being that I've upsized, it's a large frame. I'm not really a large dude. There's this drop is sitting out a bit. That's as far down as it goes. It's the older push-button lever. It's a 170. I think it's a 170, and all the way down, it was still not in my way. So that seat height, the seat tube height is perfect. There's no worries there. If you do want to upsize, which I do recommend, I feel like a longer frame feels more stable and is easier to. It's harder to nose pick. You won't nose pick as easily on a longer frame. I found that out with my mate's dirt jumper. I've been we were dirt jumping just before my crash, and his bike is a little bit longer. Everything's the same, 26-inch wheels, everything's blah, blah, blah. But longer bike feels like it's way easier to jump and without having to worry about your back end catching something and tipping you in. A shorter bike tips you in over the bars easily or more easily. So, yeah, super impressed. Banshee, if I can get, or Rushy, for sure, thank you so much for letting me demo this thing. It was wicked. If you can get another longer travel, what's next in line? Whatever, I don't care what it is. I'm super intrigued by whether they can carry this performance onto the bigger bikes or whether it dwindles away. And, you don't know how this suspension link is going to interpret on a bigger bike. So, I don't know. All I know is I want to see it, and I'm super psyched for it. Now, there was one other thing that I wanted to mention. Couldn't have been important, I can't remember it. But looks killer. I love this look. I love the raw look. So you're never going to chip your paint because there literally isn't any paint. It's a raw with like a polished finish. Adjustable dropout, so you can be neutral or low. This is in the low position. So it was low and 27.5. I never got any pedal strikes. So it's obviously a high up enough kind of setup that it's fine like that. Man, I don't know what else to say about this. This thing absolutely rips. Oh, that's right. Comparing it to the Fuel EX. So the Fuel EX is the best short travel bike I've ridden. Up till I got this. The Fuel EX, still more plush in the back. I ended up getting that thing super plush in the back, but I couldn't send it anywhere near as hard as I can send this thing. I was riding it fast. I spent a lot more time on that Fuel, and I had it dialed. I was riding it fast, and I smashed down Twisted Gum on it. But this thing, I could hit things so much harder with more confidence, purely because of the strength of the bike, the strength of the frame, and maybe the length maybe plays a little bit of a part. But yeah, sitting next to the Fuel EX was absolutely amazing. Absolutely so good. But if you're a hard charger, say you're a BMX racer, you're starting to get into mountain biking, voila, this is what you want. If you're going a little bit harder hitting, maybe the next model up with the, not next model up, but the next level up with suspension, a little bit more suspension. But 140, 115 would be killer. It'll be nimble as hell, it'll be fast, and it'll still plow. Otherwise, you'd move up to the next one, which is 135 in the rear, 160 at the front, which I think that'll be the bike that I would look for. So if I demo that and it's killer, I'm probably going to buy one. I'm chewing at the bit. I've got another bike next week to demo, not a Banshee, which I'm super excited for. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, Rushy, legend, Banshee bikes, doing a killer job. Well done, keep it up. And I'll see you on the next one.